I was once asked in a radio interview whether I ever had a crisis in faith. So I laughed. I said to the radio interviewer, who was like a skeptic, I said to him, you think because I look like a rabbi, that I'm just like this blind faith all the time? And I said, the answer to the question whether I've ever had a crisis of faith, yes, every minute of my life. How could you not have a crisis of faith when you live in a world where good people are suffering, where innocent people senselessly don't seem to get what they deserve, the wicked prosper? So if you're a believer, and a thinking believer, and a person who's sensitive to the events in the world, you have a very big crisis of faith. Every minute is a crisis. As a matter of fact, I said to him, you probably think that atheists are like honest, and people of faith are like a crutch. It's like a crutch. I'll tell you the exact opposite is true, because let me ask you a question. If you don't believe in God, then the Holocaust shouldn't bother you. Who says there's justice in this world? Survival of the fittest is what Darwin taught. And you look around all the time. You see animals, for example. The weakest deer will die to a predator. It's not fair, but who says life is fair? So why does it bother us when an innocent child dies or someone is killed for no reason? Because we sense justice. So a person of no faith would have to say, it shouldn't bother me, it doesn't bother me, just no different than some animals will die this winter and others won't. So I tell you that everybody has faith. You may not call it God, you may call it justice, you may call it truth, you may call it a sense of fairness. But all of us expect more, or else we wouldn't be bothered by anything. So to be a person of faith is a harder choice, because faith is not a crutch. Faith is choosing that I still believe, no matter how difficult life may be, and how unfair it sometimes seems, how cruel it may be, I still believe in higher truths. And I have to constantly struggle how to reconcile those higher truths with the lower reality of things not always working that way. You see, most people don't necessarily live by that. I would say that every one of us has an atheist inside of us and a believer inside of us. It's like two voices, two forces. It's a very good case to make. There is no God. Look around, you see, as I said, people who are completely wicked, cruel, they succeed. And there are other people with deep faith and they don't succeed. In many ways you can explain the world in a much easier way to explain and say, hey, there's no purpose, there's no design, there's no higher destination. But all of us also have another side to us. And I find it in everyone. You may not call it God, but everyone has an idealistic side, an innocent side, an enchantment that children have, that want to believe that things can be better. We don't just like to say things are just going nowhere. Because we're all driven. I mean, we wake up in the morning, you don't want to just hear that everything I do doesn't make a difference anyway, because at the end of the day we're all going to be eaten by the same worms when we die. So then every effort that a human being makes, you can basically dismiss and say, who really cares? So you may call it by different names, but I call that faith. It's faith in something higher that doesn't always make sense.